I'm here with my good friend Barry Jacobs. We've been buddies ever since 1976 when he started coming to ACC. A legend among sports writers in the league. It's always a big game and a wonderful game when we have Barry on hand. Barry, what have you seen in the first week or so of the ACC? Does it appear as top-heavy to you as it seems to be to most people?
Yes, it does. I did get to see Virginia play in Durham the other night, and that's a good team. And Mike Scott may be the best player in the league right now. But the other teams almost all seem like works in progress. I had thought NC State was a little bit better, but Georgia Tech came into their court and muscled them out of the way in a bit of a surprise to me.
What other surprises? Who else has caught you off guard so far?
I don't think Virginia Tech, Clemson, or Florida State are as good as I thought they would be. But I keep trying to remind myself a lot of these teams are under construction.
Yeah.
And the majority of the coaches are in their first or second year. So what do you expect? They're trying to put in a new system. If anybody misses time, they fall farther behind as far as developing chemistry. It's just going to take a while.
You're probably like me. You probably figured Leonard would have it together a little bit more than he has. And that's a guy who is a good coach. He's been around, and that's the one that's kind of surprised me.
Yeah, they went to 3 straight NCAA tournaments, which ties the school record. Got to the Sweet 16. You thought, okay, they got almost everybody back. Surely they'll be as good, if not better, and in a weaker league, definitely. But they can't seem to score the ball. And that's a part of the game. No matter how good you are on defense, when you score 10 points against Princeton in a half, or 14 against Harvard, now you got a problem.
Yeah. And past, you see it as top 3, top 4, probably top 3 right now, right? With Virginia being the 3rd, and after that, it's pretty much a scrum, isn't it? What do you see after that?
I had been impressed by NC State. I think there's not a lot of depth. C.J. Leslie needs more discipline of his emotions as well as his game. Lorenzo Brown is a point guard in progress. So Scott Wood is still a pretty much one-dimensional player. So they're a good team and they've got some experience. But I had expected more from some other teams that I think still have a chance to be good. Miami, which has been bringing players back from suspensions, injuries, family tragedies.
Yeah.
They looked awful at Chapel Hill this week. But I talked to Jim Larinaga, who's a very good coach, and he says he's hardly ever had all of his players together at the same time yet.
I guess the thing we can never forget is it's January the 14th, right? And February 14th, we really won't know what we need to know even by February 14th.
And I was sitting and thinking when some of the coaches who've been denigrated and are now gone got here, the media voted for Paul Hewitt his first year as the coach of the year in the league.
Right.
The national media voted for Matt Dougherty. We thought that Hewitt was better, but those were new coaches. When Al Skinner came in the league, he got to the finals of the ACC tournament championship.
Yeah.
So, I think you have to suspend your judgment a little bit, even though our business is to judge as quickly as possible.
I know. And boy, what a void Gary Williams has left, huh? I mean, when you take Gary out of the league, all of a sudden the 3rd coach in terms of ACC prominence is Leonard Hamilton. You've got Mike Krzyzewski, you've got Roy Williams and Leonard Hamilton. Now, you're like me, there's other good coaches in the league. I mean, Bennett's a good coach. There's some really good coaches, but they have to establish themselves.
Right, and they're not. Brad Brownell, the Clemson coach, talked about this before the season, about how with all of the instant communication now, coaches are that much more hesitant to speak frankly. It's after a game that you're most likely to get an unguarded comment. The other night, Mark Gottfried from NC State was talking about, somebody asked him, did he recognize in warm-ups that his team wasn't ready or in practice, and he said no, and he said, I can play golf. I go and golf and I don't know. And always know, and then he used an expletive.
I used that quote. I didn't use the S word, yeah, but I used that quote.
Right, just like Roy Williams a couple of years ago was asked about his pressure defense, and he said, if we could play some effing defense,
yeah,
you know, that's when you get an unguarded comment after a game when the coaches has been through the ringer and probably didn't win. But mostly they're trying to contain themselves. I noticed Chris Mooney from Richmond here, when he cursed out his players, he put his hand in front of his face like this, so that nobody could pick it up on camera, but they got the message. So yeah, I think we're maybe moving into an era of coaches who are way more conscious of their image and way more distrustful of what might go out on the internet.
Post games are much, much different. You remember the days when Norm Sloman started yelling at everybody and then storm out of the room, got the name Norman. It's just different because now the coaches, if they show their behind after game, their AD sees it, it's on Sports Center, and all of a sudden they're having to answer for it.
Nor do we have a Dave Odom or a Jim Valvano who will stay an hour after the game, even after the team is gone, to tell stories and to say, any more questions?
Right.
Valvano used to do great imitations like of Carolina big men playing the zone, and you'd just sit there in stitches, and Dave Odom would tell you anything you wanted to know about any of his players. I'm not sure that exists anymore either.
I'm not sure either. Great, great, great pleasure. Thank you so much, Barry.